My parents forced me to live as their dead daughter for 15 years, so I escaped and never looked back. A year later, my mom showed up begging for the son she threw away. I don't know how to start this without feeling like I'm lying to you. Because for 15 years, my entire life was a lie, one I didn't choose and one I wasn't allowed to escape. My name is not Emily. It never was. But for over a decade, that's who I was forced to be. I was born a boy. A quiet, wide-eyed boy who loved building toy cars and pretending the hallway was a racetrack. But when I was 5 years old, my older sister, Emily, died in a car accident. She was 8. I don't remember much about her except her pink room and how my parents cried for weeks like ghosts in the house. I thought we'd heal, eventually. That we'd light candles, tell stories about her, and learn how to breathe again. But that's not what happened. One morning, my mom brought in a dress. She said Emily would have worn this today. I laughed awkward, confused. I told her, but I'm not Emily. She didn't answer. She just handed me the dress and walked away. That's how it started. At first, I thought it was a weird grief thing. Something temporary. But then the toys disappeared. My clothes were replaced with pink blouses and skirts. My name gone. In pictures. In speech. In school documents. My dad started calling me his little girl in a voice that made me flinch. My mom would braid my hair with ribbons and tell me how grateful she was that God returned her daughter. I was 5. And the worst part? Everyone around us went along with it. Neighbors smiled. Teachers nodded. No one questioned why a little boy was suddenly a girl. Or maybe they did, but they didn't care enough to say anything. Or they were too scared of my parents, who had perfected the mask of polite grief and suburban perfection. Behind closed doors, it was a different story. If I said I'm not Emily, I was punished. Food taken away. Locked in my room. My mom would cry and scream and say I was killing her all over again. My dad would stare at me like I was some kind of demon. Once, when I tried to cut my hair, he grabbed me so hard I thought my arm was going to break. Eventually, I stopped fighting. I learned to nod, smile, practice the handwriting, speak in a higher voice. I became Emily. Because if I didn't, the punishments got worse. And honestly, I was scared, so scared that maybe I was the crazy one. That maybe they were right. Maybe this was my fault. I lost myself in that house. Years passed like fog. I went to school dressed in skirts, carrying a pink backpack with a name that wasn't mine. I avoided mirrors. I avoided friends. I became so good at pretending I forgot how to be real. Every night I cried myself to sleep and prayed to a God I wasn't even sure existed anymore. I asked him to please take me too. Or to bring back the boy I used to be. No answer ever came. I know how all this sounds. Like some horror movie plot. Like I'm making it up for attention. But this was my life. A nightmare I was forced to perform in every single day. 15 years. 15 years in a prison made of lace, grief, and madness. I missed out on puberty, my own puberty. Wasn't allowed to see a real doctor. My body started changing and they panicked, put me on hormones they bought from somewhere online. Told me it was to fix what God forgot. Every time I tried to protest, I was reminded I was being ungrateful. That this was a second chance. That I should be thankful they saved me. But they weren't saving me. They were killing me slowly, quietly, sweetly, until one day something inside me snapped. It happened the day I turned 20. 20 years old, or, as my parents insisted on calling it, Emily's 23rd birthday. There was a cake. Pink with little frosting roses. My mom had a photo album out full of pictures of me in dresses I never wanted to wear, posing with a forced smile that never quite reached my eyes. She handed me a card. It read, "To our darling daughter, we're so proud of the woman you've become." Something cracked. I looked at that card and it was like all the oxygen had been sucked from the room. My hands were shaking. My vision blurred. And all I could think was, I don't exist. I've been erased. I stood up, walked to the bathroom, looked in the mirror. I didn't recognize the face staring back. Long hair. Lip gloss. Fake smile. I whispered to the mirror, barely daring to say it aloud, "My name is not Emily." And that was it. That was the moment. The final straw. I waited until the house was quiet that night. Packed what little I had, a backpack, a change of clothes I had hidden for months, a small bundle of cash I'd secretly saved from tutoring gigs they didn't know about. I even had a burner phone hidden inside a hollowed-out book. I'd been planning escape routes for years in my head, but never had the nerve to follow through. That night I did. I left through the window. Hopped the fence. Didn't look back. My heart was pounding the entire time, not from fear of the outside world, but from terror that my parents might catch me before I made it out. I took a bus out of state. Slept in stations. $8 menu burgers. Got rained on. But for the first time in my life, I was me. Cold, scared, and exhausted, but me. I eventually found help. A local shelter took me in. I told them enough of the truth to get a roof over my head, but not so much that they'd think I was delusional. A counselor there, bless her soul, saw something in me. She helped me get a new ID under my real name. Helped me cut my hair. Helped me see myself. And let me tell you, the first time I looked in the mirror after shaving it all off, I broke down. Ugly crying, the kind that feels like it's been building up for years. Because for the first time, I wasn't looking at someone else's ghost. I was looking at me. It took months before I could sleep through the night. I had panic attacks at the sound of certain words. Daughter. Pretty. Behave. But slowly, I started to breathe again. I got a job at a small mechanic shop. Started taking online classes. Built a tiny, messy life of my own. And it wasn't perfect, hell, it still isn't, but it was real. Every coffee stain on the counter, every mismatched fork, every paycheck with my real name on it. It was mine. I spent a year in silence. No contact. No emails. No birthdays. I changed numbers. Moved addresses. It was like vanishing into thin air. And honestly, that's exactly what I needed. Until one day she came back. It was a Wednesday. Nothing special. I was under a car, elbows deep in grease, trying to figure out why a Civic kept stalling in reverse. I heard the bell over the front door chime, but didn't pay attention. I wasn't on front desk duty that day. Then my boss poked his head into the bay. There's a lady up front asking for you. Says she's your mom. I froze. That word. Mom. It hit me like ice water. I wiped my hands on a rag and told myself it couldn't be her. She didn't know where I worked. I hadn't told a soul. My legal name wasn't even the same anymore. There's no way. But when I stepped into the office, there she was. My mother. Same tightly curled hair. Same too smooth skin. Same eyes that could go from saccharine to storm in seconds. But she looked older. Tired. Her makeup was cracked under her eyes like she hadn't slept in weeks. She gasped when she saw me. Brought a hand to her mouth. Oh, my baby, she choked. I didn't say a word. Just stared. She stepped forward like she was about to hug me. I stepped back. You shouldn't be here, I said. My voice was calm, but I felt like I was shaking apart inside. I've been looking everywhere for you, she whispered. I thought you were dead. You buried me years ago, I snapped. Don't pretend you've only just lost me. Tears welled in her eyes, crocodile tears, the same ones she used to cry when I refused to wear lipstick or tried to pee standing up. She started rambling. About how she'd realized things. How she wanted to make amends. How she missed her family. How it was hard losing a child. And then the line that flipped my stomach. I need your help with your brother. I blinked. My what? Your brother. We adopted a boy last year. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. You replaced me? She looked wounded. That's not fair. No. What's not fair is forcing your son to be a doll you dress up in your grief. What's not fair is stealing my name, my childhood, my identity, and then tossing me out like garbage the second I stop playing your fantasy. Her voice dropped to a whisper. He's difficult. He's not like you were. He fights. Screams. He's angry. I thought maybe you could talk to him. Help him adjust. I stared at her in disbelief. She really thought I'd help her parent another child. After everything. After 15 years of being told I was someone I wasn't. Of being punished for trying to exist. After she drugged me, dressed me, paraded me like a mannequin wearing the ghost of her dead daughter. She wanted help. I'm not your daughter, I said, low and sharp. And I'm sure as hell not your fixer. She stepped closer. Please. I know I messed up. But we're still family. I almost laughed. It came out bitter and broken. No. You're not my family. You're a stranger who wore my mother's face and stole my life. I turned and walked back into the garage. My boss was staring. I didn't care. My coworkers didn't ask questions. I went back to work with my hands still trembling. Later that night, I found a letter taped to the door of my apartment. It was from her. Pages and pages of apologies, justifications, twisted memories. She still called me Emily in half of them. At the end, she begged me to call her. Said she was desperate. Said she didn't want to lose another child. I didn't read it twice. I burned it. After I burned that letter, I stood on the balcony of my apartment, watching the ashes swirl off into the night air. I half expected to feel something, guilt, maybe? Sadness. Regret. But there was nothing. Just the deep, hollow ache of a wound that never got to scar right. The kind you stop noticing after a while because you've learned to live with the limp. I didn't sleep that night. I sat on the floor with an old hoodie pulled around me, knees to my chest, staring at the door like she might show up again. Like I was 10 years old and afraid she'd open the door to scream at me for taking the wrong shampoo bottle from the shelf. I hated how she still had that power, the ability to reduce me back to that scared little kid with the wrong body and no one to believe him. The next day, I told my boss everything. I expected him to think I was insane. Instead, he listened. Just listened. And when I was done, he told me to take a few days off, no questions asked. It's wild how healing starts in the smallest cracks. A nod. A hand on the shoulder. The way someone calls you by the name you chose for yourself, like it's always belonged to you. But that night I started unraveling again. Because her voice kept echoing in my head. Your brother is angry. He doesn't behave. He needs you. And I started thinking, what if she's doing it again? What if this boy, this new victim, is being turned into someone he's not, just like I was? What if she's dressing him up, giving him a name, smothering him in her grief disguised as love? It made me sick. I debated for days whether to report her. CPS? The police? But what do I even say? My mother forced me to live as my dead sister for 15 years and now she might be emotionally abusing another kid? Without proof, it's just a trauma story. And trauma doesn't leave fingerprints. Still, the thought of that boy kept gnawing at me. So I did something I never thought I'd do again. I Googled her name. Found a local news post about her joining a grief counseling advocacy group. There was a picture of her holding a candle, smiling like a saint. I wanted to puke. Next, I searched for adoption records in her state. Nothing public, obviously. No way to trace who the boy was or where he came from. But I did find a post on a parenting forum. She'd written under a fake name, but I recognized the phrasing instantly, that syrupy, manipulative tone about welcoming a troubled soul into our healing home. She ended the post with a line I'll never forget. Our daughter Emily taught us how to love again, and now we pass that love on to our son. She used my name. Like it was hers to give. Like I was some divine lesson instead of a human being she systematically destroyed. I threw my laptop across the room. For a moment, I considered contacting her. Not to reconnect, but to warn her. Or threaten her. Or scream down the phone until my throat went raw. But I didn't. Because I realized something that changed everything. She didn't want me. Not really. She wanted the illusion. The symbol. The soft-spoken, compliant child who wore pink and smiled through the pain. She never loved me. She loved the corpse she could control. And now I was no longer useful. That letter on my door wasn't about making things right. It was about control. About dragging me back into her story so she wouldn't have to face her own reflection. So she could sleep at night thinking she still had a daughter in the world who might forgive her. But I'm not her daughter. I'm the boy she tried to erase. After that, I went silent again. Shut off social media. Changed my phone number again. Switched apartments. I didn't want to take the risk that she'd show up at my doorstep another time with her paper-thin apologies and manipulative smile. But even as I cut her off for good, I couldn't shut down the rage brewing inside me. I was angry that she'd replaced me. Angry that I ever hoped she'd come to her senses. Angry that I still flinched when I saw floral dresses or heard someone use the name Emily in a crowd. Trauma is weird like that. It doesn't die just because you ran. It doesn't care that you've grown a beard now or that your ID says male. It lingers. Hides in your bones. Whispers lies in the dark. There were nights I'd wake up gasping, certain I was back in that pastel-colored bedroom filled with unicorn stickers and the scent of cheap perfume. Therapy helped. Slowly. Painfully. My therapist, a no-nonsense woman named Lisa, didn't sugarcoat anything. She looked me in the eye during one session and said, "Your parents didn't grieve their daughter. They recreated her by killing you." I couldn't speak for 5 minutes after that. It was the truest thing anyone had ever said. But with that truth came power. The power to name what happened. The power to say, I was abused. Not disciplined. Not raised unconventionally. Not coping with loss. Abused. That word cracked something wide open in me. And once I said it, I couldn't unsay it. I started telling people. Slowly, carefully. A friend here. A coworker there. Every time I did, I braced for disbelief. For that look people get when your story doesn't fit their reality. But most of the time, all I got was silence, the heavy kind followed by things like, "Jesus. I'm so sorry," or "How are you even functioning?" And I'd laugh bitterly. Because the truth is, I'm not fully functioning. I'm still rebuilding. Still stumbling. Still trying to figure out who I am outside of survival. There are gaps in my memory that will never come back. There are milestones I'll never experience the way I should have: first crush, puberty, even the damn high school prom. I didn't get any of it. I was too busy pretending to be someone else. Playing dress-up in a funeral that never ended. I didn't get a boyhood. but I'm claiming my manhood day by day, brick by brick. And no, it's not perfect. I still have nightmares. Still hear her voice in my head telling me I'm selfish or ungrateful or mentally unstable. I still have moments where I wonder if maybe it wasn't all that bad, if maybe I'm overreacting. That's the sickest part of abuse. It teaches you to gaslight yourself. But I've learned to fight back. I remind myself that I was there. I lived it. And no one gets to rewrite that story, not even her. As for the boy she adopted, I still think about him. A lot. I don't know who he is or where he's from, but I hope he has a fighting chance. That he screams when they try to silence him. That he breaks something if they try to make him fit into a mold that isn't his. And I hope someone listens. Because I didn't have anyone. If I could talk to him, I'd say, you are real. You are not broken. And you don't have to be what they want you to be. But I can't. So instead, I talk to myself. And for the first time in my life, I'm starting to listen.